Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. Excited to be doing an episode here on a Monday. I usually save these for Friday, but just couldn't wait to get to it. We were trying to get to it before the expo. It didn't work out. But I'll tell you what, let's start with Joel. Maybe give me a 30-second, 1-minute commercial of who you are. And when you're finished, Katelyn, if you want to jump in there too, and then we'll hop to it. Joel, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Shannon. I'm Joel Oney. I'm the owner of J Money. And a lot of people wonder where the name J Money comes from. And it's actually my nickname for when I was in banking for about 25 years. My middle initial is M, and my last name is Oney, and I would sign my name J.M. Oney, and it just over the years became J Money. And so when we were seeking a name for our company, it took us about 30 seconds. We said, yeah, let's just use the nickname and be done with it. We didn't do any, market research or brand research or anything like that. We just used it. But I was in banking for 25 years, grew up on a farm in northern Ohio, and had an older brother who became the farmer in the family. So I had to find something else to do in life. And so went into banking and then started this business about 4 years ago. And we provide all kinds of financial service solutions for home improvement contractors, but mostly folks in the shed industry.
Nice. Great commercial. It sounds like you've had to say that a time or two.
We've been asked a couple of times what the heck we do. And so, we've gotten pretty good at it.
All good. Katelyn, how do you know the shed industry? What's your story? Let's find out a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I just started out with Joel probably about 6 months ago. So I will work with just assisting him and getting our new merchants signed up. And before that, I worked at a small credit union for about 2 years. So nothing like his 25 years in banking. But I actually work remotely down in Huntington, West Virginia. And my little side gig, I've built a few tiny homes that I'm renting out right there on campus.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I don't know why all of this time I didn't realize you were in Huntington. Love going through there. Used to travel to East Kentucky a lot, so I'd be around the Grayson area, like right there on the border, and just jump over into to West Virginia. Always like traveling through there. Go over and see my buddy Dave Miller at 5 Star. He's down. He's down pretty close to you guys. So, well, hey, listen. I'm excited to have you guys on the show. We've been talking about it for a while. I would almost talk about immediately this is a relationship that is harvested in the potential of networking and just building education on your trade. And what I mean by that is, Joel, we met at a trade show. We met because we were networking, talking, trying to figure out how to help others, which ultimately helps yourself. It's developed into this nice relationship that is very comfortable. And Katelyn, I do want to get into the tiny home thing, so we're gonna come back there because I'm curious about that. But I'll start first by saying, Joel, you couldn't have hired anybody any better. Katelyn has been an absolute rock star, and every time that I have dealt with her in any capacity, she's been awesome.
Yeah, I would second that. She is a fantastic individual. We sat down next to each other actually at a 4-H fundraiser. Both of us involved heavily in 4-H. It's a great program for youth all across the country. But we got to talking, and gosh, I just all but hired her right on the spot because you don't come across those really fantastic individuals very often, and so when you do, you have to do what you can with them. And I would put you in that same group as well, Shannon. You and I got to know each other over several conversations at some trade shows, and really appreciate the opportunity to be, working with you.
Well, I'm excited, so I feel blessed to have the opportunity. And basically, where that kind of started, we'll touch base on that, and then we can maybe dive a little bit deeper into some other areas. But basically where that started was you guys were providing, financial incentives for shed companies, companies that go because beyond the shed, because nowadays it is beyond the shed, right? It seems like it's not just a shed storage provider, 10 by 16 shed or something like that. They moved into 16 by 40s. Now you've got post frame. Now you've got, I mean, those things have been around, don't get me wrong, but it's the shed person, when you think of a shed personality, they've kind of morphed into, in many cases, not an all-in-one solution, but at least an attempt at that at some dealer locations.
Yes, that's right. And as the shed industry evolved, we could quickly see that there was a need for some additional products in the space. And we started off, a little bit by accident. I think that's the way a lot of good things start off. Maybe many times you're just trying to help somebody, and next thing you know, you've got a business that you've created out of it. After I was coming away from the banking world and seeking to start a business of my own, I was helping some of my Amish friends with some financing solutions for their sheds. And the rent to own is really where we started. I could quickly see that there was, a need for some things that were above and beyond the rent to own space. Whether it was just buildings that were getting larger and needed something with a longer term, or maybe they were buildings that didn't fit rent to own just because they were being built on site, or pole buildings that we talked about, post frame buildings, those kinds of things. And so that's how we evolved into providing just a loan solution. An unsecured loan basically is what we do for the sheds now. And so that just provides a whole lot more flexibility as far as longer terms things. Still much of a need for the rent to own in the shed industry for sure, but this is that fills some of those gaps for customers that can't have their needs met by a rent to own product.
Well, and that's what kind of led to our conversation. I feel like you're telling my story. We started the podcast for the purpose of not making money or having any business, but to help increase communication, to interview people. We were already traveling one place to the next, and it was like, why not record this and put it out? I mean, there's like good conversation here among, just people in the industry. And I think other people can like learn from that. And next thing you know, people are asking to sell advertisement on it, or, other opportunities open up. Now we're full scale marketing, rent to own. And that's why we're partnering with J Money, is to help provide that finance, that unsecured finance extension, that leg, through Shed Geek, if we can, and bring our listening base to the table, which hopefully by the time this comes out, the website will be finished and they can just go on and click on a lead form on the website and ask about more information. But you guys can always reach me at info@shedgeek.com. But let's get to the reason of like why. To me, rent to own is so competitive in this space. It is really, really competitive. It just, maybe it didn't seem that way 5 or 10 years ago. Maybe it was and I didn't notice. But it begs the question, Joel and Katelyn, like, when is finance going to enter the picture? Everyone's always looking for another solution for their customer, that they want to be able to provide them, in their eyes, a building at a lower cost, essentially. So cash is king. If you can't pay cash, get a loan, and if not, rent to own typically serves its purpose. And there's all different reasons why people decide to purchase, why and how they purchase. But yeah, just curious, like, you saw that need, you saw that space. What's been your experience so far? Managing your rent-to-own contracts just got easier with RTO Smart. Designed by leaders in the rent-to-own storage industry, RTO Smart was handcrafted to enable you with the tools needed to manage your own contracts your way without using a third-party rent-to-own company. RTO Smart is your one-stop shop, allowing you to generate contracts and manage customer accounts from start to finish while maintaining simplicity and flexibility. Call us today at 316-618-9396 or visit our website at rtosmart.com to schedule a live demo and discover why RTO Smart may be right for your business.
Yeah, it's really an interesting experience because we just heard our dealers and manufacturers saying, hey, we need something for these other things, or maybe we've got someone with a really good credit score, but they, are going to leave the lot and try to find a loan someplace. And, or we've had these buildings that have gotten so large, or we're building them on site. So there was just a variety of things that weren't fitting the rent to own. And so I put on my banker executive cap that I had from a few years previously and kind of searched the face of the planet to find some solutions. And there's really a lot of folks that have tried to work in this space with an unsecured consumer loan, but some of those solutions have had, just a variety of challenges, whether or not it's just finding a single source, whether it's a fast, easy platform, um, something that you can work easily into your sales process while you're sitting there with a customer, all those things, fees that are involved, just a whole variety of things. So we had a checklist of about 10 or 12 items that we felt like were must-haves when we went to provide something for the marketplace. And in the end, found some fintech partners and really have kind of narrowed it down to one fintech partner that we believe is really the right fit for the industry and can do all the things that we wanted to do on that list of 10 or 12 things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's been great. Katelyn, what do you feel like has been your experience since moving away from the credit union into this world of sheds and structures and all of that good stuff?
Yeah, I wasn't too familiar with, the shed world before 6 months ago, and I've learned a lot over these past few months. And like you said, I didn't know how competitive RTO was. I just assumed maybe it was one thing, but as we went to the trade show, last month, and as we've met all of these different businesses, I've realized just how many places out there offer the RTO. So I think we've found this specific niche where that gap in between RTO and cash. And, we're not really competing with RTO, we're working right there alongside it just to bring all the customers to the table.
Yeah, I agree. And after having been a dealer for years, you know, if you're like I just wrote an article for the Shed Business Journal, so that should be out probably by the time this comes out, where it's talking about trade. So I won't give too much away, but just in case, but talking about trade and our specific trade. And I know if you're a shed dealer, like that's the one thing that you're looking for all the time as you're investing in your trade, investing in knowledge, information, and more is how do I help my customer? At the end of the day, it's how do I help my customer get something that's more affordable, something that's simple to use, right? So you're not spending a whole lot of time there going through the process. Now, Joel, I think it'd be good to get into the conversation of like the application to some extent of like becoming a dealer, like why it's important for us to go through. You guys have probably seen my emails. And the one thing I say, and the shed industry is going to laugh at me for saying this because I mention it so often, is hey, if you reach out, guys, answer your phone, answer emails. And I'm the world's worst to be preaching this right now, as busy as I've been lately. But answer your phone, answer your emails, good communication. Like we want to work with you, we want to help you, but take this investment in your trade to a whole new level by partnering with folks like J Money, whether you do that through Shed Geek or not. But take it serious as an approach to helping out your customer, because I've searched and there is not a better program in the industry doing what you guys do.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time really looking, and some others have done some things that have been admirable. I think in the shed financing space with consumer loans, uh, and it's not to take anything away. I think that it's just that the source and the specific platform that we use, source of funding, the mechanisms, the way it all works as far as the funds going directly to the dealer or manufacturer, some of those kinds of things really set apart what we're bringing to the industry. And it's something that is fairly streamlined as far as the sign up process. Katie manages that whole process really well. There is a process that a person goes through to get approved to utilize that financing, just because any contractor has to hit certain credentials in order to be able to utilize it. But Katie makes that process really easy and handles things, really smoothly as far as the sign up process. And if any of your viewers wanted more information, Shannon, they could reach out to you, and you could hook them up with us, and we'd be glad to take them through a 30-minute demo or something like that, to where they could see how the process works and how it could maybe potentially help their business.
Yeah,
We started off trying to help people find ways to get sheds and to sell sheds, and this is where we ended up.
I think it's great, and I can attest to like I said, the professionalism for Katie. She makes me question my own ability to follow up with people. So that's really great. I think she does great, and excellent communicator. And Joel, like honestly, everybody there, the team has just been excellent in the adventure so far. And hey, we want to bring on a whole bunch more. We want more people because people are looking for this. Like at the end of the day, manufacturers and dealers are looking for this. Rent to own has ruled the roost, so to speak, for so long. That's my little pun on your logo there in the background. So I'm not a comedian, guys. Don't put me on stage. That's all I'm saying. Don't put me up there. But it's ruled the roost, for a long time, and we're involved in RTO, so we sort of understand what it is. But at the end of the day, I think shed dealers and manufacturers, they want this. It's maybe even a different type of customer. Let's talk about that. What type of customer does come in looking for, finance versus rent to own even?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And maybe I'll back up to the logo for just a minute, because we do have a logo that probably we took a little more time to think about our logo than we did about our name. So maybe I could tell you just a little bit about what's behind that. Obviously, it's fashioned after a weather vane, which is historically been something that you would see on top of a barn or a shed or something like that. So that part of it's pretty obvious. Our colors, the deep dark burnt red, go along with the traditional color barns being red barns, and at least in our part of the world, which is Ohio. We do go nationwide with our products, but we're based in Ohio. Most of the barns around here are either white or red, so we like that red color. But also just even some things that are a little bit more, I guess, maybe below the surface. The arrow points to the right. At least I hope it's pointing to the right. With the zoom, things are turned around backwards sometimes. But on our logo, it's pointing to the right. It means it's pointing forward. It's always moving forward, just like our company, always moving forward, trying to find great solutions for folks. And I kind of like the rooster. We have a rooster at the farm across the road from us. The symbolism of the rooster. They get up every morning before everybody else, and they call out to the world and say, "Hey, we're ready to go." And so we like some of the symbolism behind our logo. So we did put a little more thought into that, I suppose, than just the name. Your question about customers is a good one. How many times, Shannon, when you were selling sheds, did a customer say, "You know what? I've got a pretty good credit score. I'm not sure that I want to do this rent to own, but I'm also not sure that I want to come off my cash. I think I'm gonna go to the bank and see if I can get a loan, or I'm gonna go see if I can get the financing elsewhere." And they walk off your lot and you never saw them again.
Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah, too often, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you didn't have that solution right there, and that's really the kind of person that is great for this, is someone who maybe has the ability to get a loan, but you don't want to get off your lot to go get a loan. So you have a solution right there that you can work right into your sales process. And we really coach the manufacturers and dealers, their salespeople, to start off by offering the payment right up front. And the reason being is that whether that person has good credit, bad credit, cash customer, whatever, they may be thinking in the back of their mind, how am I going to pay for this thing? They might be thinking, oh yeah, I love all the features. I really like this red barn over here, and I like the roll-up door on it and the extra windows. They might be thinking all of that, but in the back of their mind, they might be thinking, how am I going to pay for this? Or maybe I've got the cash to pay for it, but we also have tuition to pay this fall. We have Christmas coming up. I know I need to buy Junior a new car, et cetera, et cetera. There's all these other things that might be demands on your cash. And so the earlier in that sales process that one of the dealers has the opportunity to dispel that concern, to take that off the table and say, okay, here's a payment plan that works for folks that have decent to good credit. Would you like to take a look at this? And that keeps that customer from walking off the lot, helps you to close deals. That's really where this fits in.
Yeah, the whole idea is to offer a solution in that impulsive moment. If they want to go home, think about it, do all that good stuff, and you're unable to close them in that moment, that's fine. But if they go to the bank, there's just it doesn't take much distraction for a consumer. Oftentimes, so like if you can just offer a solution for them right then in the moment, simple, easy user interface, good training. That's the one thing that I've noticed has been super imperative, is like the manufacturer who goes through the application and the trouble to submit the necessary paperwork to become a user of the program. They get good training. They understand it well. They can explain things to their customers. And I think a lot of it starts right there in that education bubble. Because I don't know, at least I've been saying for some time now, whether I'm right or wrong, I feel like the public school system doesn't really spend the amount of time necessary to help explain the details of like finances or money management in any way, shape, or form. And while Rentone's an excellent program for someone who wants to jump into the rental option, for someone who doesn't have cash but wants to lower the overall cost of the structure, you can sign up and get an interest rate, but that interest rate now comes with some caveat, right? Like an asterisk there that's like, hey, it's no longer just anyone's available. Now we're going to base this off your debt to income, your credit history, all of that good stuff. And I think there's a lot of customers that don't realize that as they're renting a shed, that it's just that. It's that they're renting it, they're not purchasing it, they're not building equity in it. It's not going on their credit. It doesn't help nor hurt. And I don't know how much the dealer is taking the time to spend educating them, because I don't know that, you know, they want to move the shed, you know, so that's the biggest important thing for them. So they're like, hey, listen, I'm not a college professor. I'm not trying to educate someone on their buying habits and all of this. I want to get this thing moved. So let's get it rented today. But for the dealers and manufacturers that take a little different approach, that really want to educate the consumer, make sure that they understand the process and how it works, that's really the option that J Money provides.
Well, yeah, and Katie, I'll let you address. You're closer to have been in school longer than Shannon and I both, so you might address the part about whether or not there's much as far as financial literacy being taught, you know, in the school system today. But as far as the rent to own, hey, I will never disparage the rent to own. In fact, that's where we started off at, because the rent to own is just exactly what you said. It's a rental payment, right? And if somebody needs to rent some storage space, you know, if you go to rent a storage unit in town at one of these big storage facilities, you might pay on that for 5 years, and you've got nothing at the end of the day, and you got to drive over there to pick it up versus a shed that's in your, you know, in your back lawn that at the end of 4 or 5 years you might own that thing. And the other thing with the rental, it's a month-to-month rental. So if any point in time somebody says with a rent to own, hey, you know what? I really don't want this shed anymore. It doesn't fit my budget, or I'm moving or something. You know, we as a rent-to-own company would have to go pick those up. And so the consumer maybe is paying more, but they're paying for that convenience, that flexibility, versus a loan. You know, these loans that we are now offering have a much lower interest rate for people with good credit. They can get something as low as 10.99%. And it's free then for the dealer or the manufacturer to use it that. Now there's promotional rates available that can get some lower rates, or 0% for 6 months or 12 months and things like that, that would have some fees associated with it. But if somebody just wanted to offer 10.99 for 7 years or 10 years, that's free for a manufacturer to offer. And that's a really good rate compared to rent own. But with that, you know, that someone's locked into that loan. They're, like you said, they're going to get a credit check, going to make sure that the debt to income works. That's all a very fast, automated, paperless process that happens real slick and easy. And we can demonstrate that for anybody that would ever be interested. But once they get that loan, you know, they're kind of locked into that. If they borrow for $10,000 for a shed, they have to pay $10,000 back plus the interest, unless they pay it off early. It is simple interest. There's no penalty for prepayment. But if somebody says, you know what, I really don't want this shed anymore, I'm moving, whatever, I just don't think I need this shed now. With the loan, you know, that's fine, but you still got to make your payment, right? Whereas the rent to own, if you don't want that building anymore, the company comes and picks it up, and you're out of that deal. So there's some things with the rent to own that I think are good, and it's still a great fit for some customers. And again, would never disparage that. In fact, we still do a little bit of rent to own ourselves, but the loan just serves a different purpose for somebody that wants to have maybe a lower interest rate, has a building that doesn't fit the rent to own. Maybe they've got a decent credit score. They want something that matches their credit score better. Those kinds of things. Those kinds of ones that are a good fit for it. And so I think the more that a dealer or a manufacturer is able to speak to, hey, here's the good things about rent to own and the advantages and disadvantages. Here's the good things, advantages and disadvantages to using a financing product or a loan like this. The more value they provide to their customers. And gosh, if you're able to provide that value of talking them through those options, who are they going to buy from? They're going to buy from you, right? Yeah. Because you're the one that's helped them figure this out right there on the spot, how they're going to pay for this thing, to get them over that objection in the back of their mind. And it's something that just helps people sell more sheds, right? So Katie, that's my 2 cents on that part of it. But from your perspective as a young consumer and someone who, you know, is relatively recently graduated from Marshall, what would your take on that be?
Yeah, you know, I wasn't going to say anything, but I might be a little bit more familiar with the school system as of recent. You know, I had one semester of a personal finance class And, I feel like I learned a lot in that class, and I got really into it too. So I paid attention, but it was a minor class. It didn't really actually count towards your full grade. I don't think a lot of people paid attention, but as I've talked to different friends as we went through college, is not everybody had that. Not every school system requires a personal finance class, and I've experienced friends that don't know how to write a check or are getting super high car interest rates, and they're, locked into that for a really long time because they're just not educated on, what they're getting. But on the flip side is we've experienced a few merchants who are like, okay, how is financing different from RTO? Is that not what I'm already offering? So them learning that, if they stop making their payments, you don't have to worry about going to pick up that shed. On both sides of it, it's just, informing yourself and knowing what you're offering or what you're buying.
Gosh, what a great,
That's a good point.
yeah,
That's a good point, Katie. Whenever we say with the financing, if you don't have to worry about going and repo in the shed
yeah.
because it's an unsecured loan, people's eyes get big. They're like, "Oh, what? You mean we don't have to repo that thing if they stop paying?" So yeah.
Well, and I
So
think
Yeah,
that's
that's one of the first questions we'll get.
Hello from the Shed Geek. Let's take a walk through My Shed 3D. With My Shed 3D, your company can simply add a 3D builder button to its website. Once the customer clicks onto the 3D builder button, they will enter some basic information to get started. Remember, this information is captured in your Leads tab, whether or not the customer designs a building. This is very valuable information that turns a cold call into a warm lead. Next, they begin the design of their shed by selecting a primary use, a style, and a size that best fits their need. My Shed 3D has multiple styles that are available and consistent with traditional and barn styles within the shed industry. However, if you offer a customized or non-traditional style, My Shed Solutions can build that design for future use. We can also save on some design features that make it easy to adjust without a major rebuild or added fees for design changes. For instance, want to offer a steeper roof pitch? Just navigate to the Settings tab. Then click the Building Models. Click Edit Building and just enter the new roof center height, and the design changes will reflect on this style option. This will save you thousands versus traditional design changes that need to build a whole new style to match your design. From here, simply choose the style, siding, and color. Then choose a trim and roofing style and color. Next, let's add a door. That was goofy. Next, let's add a door. It is required to add a door to move forward with the design, as at least one ingress-egress option is necessary. Then add some design changes for personalization. Maybe some windows, or a porch, or some interior shelving. Next, just click Save Design and the customer will receive an automated text with all the features of the design to the email address entered at the beginning. From here, they can edit the design, view the details of the design, pay now to order the shed, or click Rent to Own to complete the necessary steps to purchase a shed they designed with My Shed 3D. The design enters the admin panel as a quote, and this is where the manufacturer can update the progress of the design once a deposit is taken. My Shed, from design to delivery, we have you covered.
That's a lot of the negative, aspect that a lot of companies see on RTO is having to go back out and, pick something up. So, understanding that it works different, renting something than selling something, I feel like we're constantly laying that groundwork down. Because I believe that there are not just consumers who do not understand the difference in a credit sale and a rental fee. Even if you explain it to them and disclose all of that information on the contract as is required, it doesn't mean that they really comprehend it. Somebody said communication's key, and I heard somebody say actually comprehension's the key. Like I can explain it, but until they really grab a hold of it and understand it, I've disclosed all of the stuff I'm required to legally, but I want them to get it. I want them to understand it on a different level. And I would even, to your point, Katie, where you said folks have even asked you, how does that differ from RTO? I would venture to say there's not just shed dealers who probably could use some education in that area. Manufacturers don't always have the
Yeah.
they don't just they wear a lot of hats, so they don't have the time. And I even told someone recently I would venture as far as to say there are even some RTO providers that probably need some education on that. And I know people maybe think that's a slight that I'm taking, but it's not. I've literally asked. I remember asking an RTO provider one time. They were asking about some software, and we were talking to advisors, and they were like, "What's that?" And I could just tell they were just so uninvolved in the actual nature of their business that it was, felt more like a money grab. Like, hey, this is a way to make good money, and it's kind of like, hey, there's still a whole customer service side of offering rent to own and finance that people don't realize that you guys at J Money do a really, really great job at. And that's why I'm excited to partner with you, is because we've experienced that. And that's what people want ultimately, right? They want a good experience. They want a pleasant experience that's easy to use, easy to understand. Hey, I have someone to contact whenever I have trouble here, but maybe I won't even have to do that if I go through the proper training and I can comprehend it and understand it well. There won't be a big need for me to just call someone. That's what I feel like I've found through this partnership. I think that's what others have found through this who've signed up. And I really think that there's a lot of potential for finance in the shed space specifically, and even beyond the other structures, but specifically in the shed space for the next 5 to 10 years.
I definitely feel like the game is changing a little bit. At first it started out with if you want a shed, you buy cash. And then it went to RTO. And now you've kind of got to think outside of the shed. And you can't just put a shed on your lot. You have to offer all of these options to enable people to purchase them. You kind of got to broaden your horizon a little bit.
Yeah, Joel, 25 years in professional banking, like, if we broke this down to layman's terms and said, well, what does this mean? This, finance means that it's not as risky of a contract because you kind of have some history, their personal income, their purchasing habits, their habits in terms of like paying back money borrowed. So, you're judging, or is judging the right word? You're qualifying the person based off of their history, and their position in their world financially, as opposed to rent to own that's just open to everyone. What happens whenever people don't pay for these things, even at that level of the game? Because everybody's like, well, is that on me? What happens? You've already addressed it, but what happens with that loan essentially?
Yeah, that loan would go to through a collection process, the same way any other unsecured consumer loan would go through a collection process, whether it's a student loan or a credit card. There's a myriad number of types of unsecured consumer credits out there in the marketplace, personal loans, those kinds of things, that the recourse is back on the borrower themselves. And that's why the process goes through a really fast qualification process, right? Well, the dealer is sitting there with the potential shed buyer that uses a soft pull on the credit with just some really simple information: name, address, and then income for the applicant, and then household income. So it takes about, maybe if somebody types really slow, maybe 60 seconds to fill it out, and it can be filled out by the dealer or by the customer. And a person can know whether or not they qualify relatively quickly for that. And then it's real easily completed then by the consumer on their device. They can pick whatever products that particular dealer or manufacturer is offering. They can pick from one of those and close the deal pretty much right where they're sitting there. But it's got to be somebody that has decent credit, because how it is. If you've paid on time before, likely you're going to be paying on time again in the future. And that was, out of the 25 years you mentioned that I was in banking, one of the things that we learned over and over again is that the most important factor when we were evaluating a loan, whether it was for 5,000 or 5 million, which we did some large loans when I was in banking, was the individual character. If somebody had a history of paying on time, they were going to do whatever it took, regardless of circumstances, to pay on time in the future.
Uh-huh.
And somebody that didn't pay on time, they may not find that nearly as important in the future either if they haven't done a history.
I find that
So that's why that payment history is so.
It's super interesting to hear as a banking professional of previous 25 years experience, like to hear what is kind of the behind the scenes picture in terms of like, determining the success or failure of a loan application has got so much to do with like your history of like, I mean, that's my friends who always say, with banking, it's usually like, hey, I need to borrow $10,000. Sure. Can you prove to me how you're going to pay back the $10,000? It's like, no. That's why I'm borrowing it, And so it's always funny to see like this amount of like guaranteed and just different, what people want and require and where the banking industry, how much it's changed probably in the 25 years that you've been in it, seeing small banks close up, just seeing a lot of different changes and even banks getting into the RTO world that we are in, because it's the landscape has changed to some extent.
Yeah, there's been some changes. I think one of the big changes is that it went from early in my career, you would submit all kinds of paperwork to get a loan. You would go through a process and it would be analyzed and there'd be decision makers, and that's all become automated now with automated systems that utilize some minimal information to do predictions on whether or not somebody's going to pay back on time. And that is going from what used to be a matter of probably days or even weeks to just that's one of the big differences in the banking world from when I first started. But you mentioned some of the behind the scenes stuff, and I always think of this one deal that we were working on where it was a multi-million-dollar deal for some robotic equipment for a large farm operation. And we were, really debating whether or not we were going to go forward with this loan. But in the end, I reassured my colleagues that, okay, these are pretty good people. I've known them for a long period of time, and their character is really stellar. And at the end of the day, we made a multi-million-dollar decision based upon the character of that. So some things have evolved, but some things never change. And one of those things that never changes is somebody that has great character usually is going to be a good risk when it comes to putting money out there in the form of a loan.
Introducing ShedHub, your ultimate shed marketplace. Are you in the shed business and looking to connect with more buyers? Look no farther than ShedHub. ShedHub is a game-changing, two-sided marketplace that brings shed sellers and buyers together in one easy-to-use platform. Think of it as the Amazon of sheds. ShedHub isn't just any ordinary marketplace. It's a powerhouse that ranks on the first page of Google's search results in 91% of U.S. cities. With over 1.2 million impressions on our website last month alone, ShedHub is where you want to be to showcase your sheds to a wider audience. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can join our exclusive Next 500 plan for just $39 per month. Simply head over to geek.shedhub.com to sign up and start attracting more shoppers to your shed listings. As the Shed Geek, I am here to endorse ShedHub and invite you to join me on this journey to boost your shed business. Whether you're struggling with website visibility or simply want more eyes on your product, ShedHub has got you covered. Don't miss out on this opportunity to supercharge your shed sales. Visit geek.shedhub.com today and make your mark in the shed industry with ShedHub. Joel, I've learned this in my small amount of time in seeking investment for RTO funds. Just a meeting we had last week. I'm so surprised at the way the process works versus what you experience it to be like in your head. What's the famous quote? We suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. You'd be really surprised at how human people are when you're asking for millions of dollars. It's kind of a, to grow up so poor. And I tell this story a lot, and neither one of my parents even accomplished $10 an hour in their lifetime, so like we really came from nothing. So like, imagine not being very, what's the right word? I don't, distinguished in terms of like the way that financing's supposed to work and supposed to operate. Like, imagine, if you will, asking someone for millions of dollars and being able to laugh and have conversation. And I'm just like, wow, this is different than I expected. So my experience has been really fun, and I'm excited to see our growth to even be able to have those conversations, because it's teaching me a lot in business as a professional, but it's teaching me a lot in the financial world. Katelyn, some folks, this is something I get a lot. I'm trying to ask questions or think of things that people I might be close to ask, like, hey, what about people who have really low FICO scores? What about this subprime credit? Like, what we get into 500, 600, low sixes credit scores. There's just not a real heavy appetite in an unsecured loan for those types of numbers that I've seen much anywhere. And people want an alternative to rent to own, which they're viewing it as a traditional loan, which it's not, but they're viewing the numbers. They're viewing this shed was $5,000, it cost $10,000. So, my interest rate is X, which it's non-existent. It's a rental fee, but they treat it that way. And then they come over and they see a 750 credit score and they say, okay, we see the total savings is $3,000 maybe, versus what it would be on rent to own. And there's some people trying to find like this middle ground of like, yeah, but what if they come in at a 500 credit score? How do you answer those questions on the calls?
Yeah, well, so far we've seen with our partner that they kind of cover, I think we see about 660 and above for approvals there. So once it gets lower, that really is the question. We've kind of said that that's where the RTO customers come in place. Joel, I don't know if you want to talk on that more, but that really is the question. We're still asking that now.
Yeah, and there's one of the things that we're continuing to seek as we seek answers is something for those folks that are below the 660, 680, because that's really where the sweet spot is for unsecured. Remember, this is an unsecured
Right.
loan at 10, 11%. That's going to be for a customer that has probably a 680 score and higher is where most people are going to find the most success with this. And not that we would only relegate the lower credit scores to rent to own, but that would be kind of the only option out there right now, unless a manufacturer wants to pay some large fees to offset that risk, right? So a lender might say, okay, yeah, we could take on this 600 credit score or this 580 credit score, but in order for us to do that, we're only going to fund 90% of this loan or 85% of it. And you, the manufacturer or the dealer, have to eat the other 10 or 15% to get that across the finish line. Well, there's not much margin beyond that in the shed industry. And so that's really not a great option. And so we're continuing to look in that space, but really the financing, just again, because it's an unsecured loan and at a decent rate of interest, there can't be a lot of losses in that space. And so you have to say, okay, yeah, where's the cutoff? Probably in that mid to high 600s and higher.
Well, and really go ahead, Katelyn.
Joel continues to work with our partners too, probably on a weekly basis on expanding those approvals. So we're working towards that every day to get a larger variety of customers across the finish line.
Yeah, that's one of the things we see too, is that the more high quality applicants uh, one of our customers can bring to the table, the more we're able to get approvals at lower interest rates, or excuse me, at lower FICO scores. So if somebody has only applicants that are in the 500 to 600 range, they're just not going to get many approvals. But if somebody has a lot of 700s and 800 credit scores that they're bringing to the table, they're going to get a few more of those 660s approved.
Yeah, no, it makes good sense. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about the long-term play of it, and the way that rent own has gotten competitive, where you see now like dealer premiums and different things offered, until finance becomes really competitive in nature inside of the industry. I don't know that people are going to be just rushing to those unsecured loans. That 10, 11% unsecured loan is cheaper than, the interest rate on a home in the 80s. And, we forget that, whenever people saw 16 and 17% interest rates. So like, yeah, things are better.
And prime rate right now is 8%. So you think about that prime rate, and that's usually for a secured loan that's maybe secured with a second mortgage on somebody's house or something like that, is what prime is. A lot of commercial loans are prime plus 2, which prime plus 2 would be 10% right now. So, and those are mostly secured loans. So something starting in that 10, 11% range for an unsecured consumer loan, with no documentation required and a fast, easy decision, that those are pretty good rates. Now, will everybody qualify for that rate? No, but even if somebody qualifies and they don't have that top credit score, they're still going to be in the mid-teens as far as an interest rate, much lower than a credit card, or much lower than many consumer loans that are in the low 20s as far as interest rates go, right?
And what type of cap can they kind of expect? Because that becomes very important, especially as you see, I think it was Gary Reichert, Shield Wall Media, Garage Shed Carport Builder, released some, data recently saying that like 40% of shed builders also build post frame, or vice versa. I don't remember exactly which way it is, but the bottom line is people get into to other areas, and does this transfer over? What type of limitations can they see on the different buildings? What about metal structures? Everybody's getting into anymore offering these steel tube carports and big buildings. What can they expect as a consumer?
Katie, I'll let you go with that one.
So we will loan on anything home improvement. So we will do, even if you want to change the roof on your house, get a deck, put in a pool, we'll cover anything like that. The line stops at if you want to build a house. That's where it stops. But sheds, anything home improvement.
Including garages and metal buildings, post frame, tubular steel buildings, all those things. Yeah, those are all things that we do a whole bunch of, Shannon. And it's up to $100,000 too. So, you get into a pretty sizable, post frame type of building that someone's going to be using as a man cave to park the camper in, those kinds of things. 80, 90, $100,000 building, that's something that we could do with this product.
Digital Shed Builder is an online shed configurator that strives to provide incredible visual quality, fantastic customer service, and an amazingly low price point, making it a perfect fit for any shed dealer looking to increase their online sales. Digital Shed Builder is simple to use, taking less than 5 minutes to integrate on your site. The Get a Quote feature streamlines your sales process, showing you exactly what your potential customers need. They offer a highly customizable experience that accurately represents your brand and unique shed offerings, working with you directly to set up everything you need in a configurator. With no extra startup cost, no lengthy contracts or commitments, and no hidden fees, Digital Shed Builder has been created with quality, simplicity, and affordability in mind.
No, that's excellent. There's so many people that are in need of this program. It's why we wanted to partner with you here at Shed Geek, where we extended the Shed Geek Finance tab. And by all means, I told Joel about this beforehand, guys. If you decide to come through Shed Geek to get to J Money, it's not costing you any more money. It's just costing Joel. So let's keep that in mind. Throw a dog a bone. Give me a chance to make the introduction of these awesome people, Joel and Katelyn. They've been excellent. Katelyn, before we go, tell me about this tiny home project. I've never asked you how old you are. They say not to ask a lady. I tend to think that you're young enough that you're still not offended by me maybe asking how old you are. But you got out of college, you're young, you took on this project. Where'd that come from? Where does that appetite come from?
Yeah, you're fine. I still get people asking me what high school I go to. So I just appreciate you think I graduated college. So yeah, I'm just 22. I graduated from Marshall 2 years ago. And for my final project, I majored in entrepreneurship. And for our senior project, we had to come up with a business plan. And my business plan was for Wildflower Homes, building tiny homes that could be rented as apartments. So you're not, stuck in these cramped little apartments with, everything's outdated. You hear your neighbor to the left, the right, upstairs. You have your own comfortable space that you can call home. But at the end of the day, you're just paying rent and you don't have to, worry about taking out a mortgage or, having all that stress on your shoulders. So I took that project to competition. I won the campus qualifier at Marshall. And then the next year, I bought a property. I got my general contractor's license. I got our local trade school to prefab the walls for me, so they got some real life experience. And I've had my hand in just about every other aspect of the property. I was over there putting the siding up. I was on the roof helping with the shingles, putting in the insulation on the hottest day of the year, which was terrible. Finished the drywall, and I've happily got 2 tenants in there now. So long process, but I'm glad I've, got a bow on it now and can call it done.
Joel, don't let her go. She's going to have a job the next day.
Yeah, no, I've already told her, this is a lifelong partnership we got here. So
Yeah.
her life, as you can see, is going to be a lot longer than mine. So she's going to be off the hook before I am.
Well, that's excellent. And just your ambition and really even your talk about trade, that's kind of exciting because that was the most recent article is like, how do we increase trade, for long term in this industry? Because I really feel like that's what I hear a lot of people say is like, I need help, good help. Where do I find it? All of that stuff. It's just almost impossible. Guys, believe it or not, I think I told you 45 minutes goes by quick. I think we're at 49. Real quick, any questions you want to ask me, just because I do this for everyone else? Any questions about podcasting, shed industry? You may have done, and if you have done, that's okay. But any questions that you would have for me that I can answer, full transparency, open book. I just like the dialogue and the conversation. Going once.
What's maybe the most interesting, intriguing story that you might have about a strange shed or a customer or a delivery or something like that? Let's hear something kind of fun.
Something fun. There was this one time that, I don't know if this is fun. There was this one time I was selling sheds where a competitor came on and lured a customer away down to their lot. So that says a lot for collaboration in the industry. Oh gosh, I don't know. There was, I don't have good stories. We just had some interesting stuff maybe happen. I think maybe one of the more interesting stories was, we did it was through LP. It was maybe one of my favorite stories. So LP Smart Siding, we had done a commercial for Summit Portable Building, so you guys are familiar with Irvin Stutzman. Irvin is just an excellent guy. We did a commercial for him, pre-marketing days. We were marketing, this is 5-6 years ago. And we basically created a video, and it showed how sheds were starting to be used for things different than just typical storage. I wrote the script. Dylan helped nail down the vision, and the rest was history. In short, we did a video in our hometown of a young boy who was struggling to pay for groceries. He was at the local Quick Stop or whatever. Couldn't pay for a thing of Beanie Weenies or something like that, ramen noodles. It was something really simple. And a lady noticed that and felt bad for him because he walked out without getting anything. So she goes home in the video and she looks up portables, or she looks up food banks near me, and there weren't any. So she looks up a portable structure to turn it into a food bank. And that's ultimately what she created. And then the story come around that the young boy came in to actually end up getting groceries there. And you show the cupboard full of groceries because people were trying to think outside the box of how to use it. And LP actually picked that story up, called us and said, you made some of the girls in our office in our marketing department cry with this video. That wasn't the intention. I mean, it was crying in a good way. But they said, hey, we want to build a shed and give it away as a food pantry. We think it's an excellent idea. And we actually got to build that through Summit Portable Buildings. Irvin Stutzman built that shed. We delivered it to Shawnee Development, which is in Pulaski County, in the county I grew up in, which is the poorest county in Illinois, or second poorest county in Illinois, where to this day it still sits and services the community through a food bank. So my feel-good story is that was really amazing, and good on them to fund that adventure, because every time I drive by it on the way to my mom's or my in-laws, I still smile, because that all started with an idea to just be different.
That's a great story and a great way to wrap up the conversation and leave us feeling good and smiling. But we've been smiling ever since we partnered with you, Shannon, and look forward to many successful years ahead.
Well, hey, you guys that are listening, Give me a chance. Shed Geek Finance, you know who it's powered by now. It's J Money's the backbone of this, and the partnerships that they've established through this. I trust them, and we operate on a high level of trust and just doing a good thing and staying on brand. And these guys couldn't meet that anymore. I'm super proud to be partnered with them. Give us a shot at Shed Geek Finance /J Money. They're going to be powering this thing and taking it to a whole new level. So let's connect if we can. Info at shedgeek.com. Go to shedgeek.com and fill out a lead form request. Heck, give Katelyn and Joel a call directly. It don't matter. As long as we're helping you, we'll deal with the details later. We want to help you sell more sheds. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for coming on today. It means a lot that you take the time, and it's been great.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and it's coming up on Thanksgiving. And we just want to say thank you for listening to the show, and thank you to all the guests.